Well, now that it's 9 o'clock and we do have let's turn this back on. It's 9 o'clock and we do have a quorum now. We were kind of struggling there for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and call to order this Transportation Board meeting. And we're going to do something a little different this morning. Mayor Perea, he's outgoing mayor, and I'm going to ask him to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, let's do the roll call, please.
Chairman Searle.
Present.
Vice Chair Daniels.
Here.
Board Member Maxwell. Board Member Howard. Board Member Elters.
Here.
And Board Member Peshlikai.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. And with that, it's great to be in Wickenburg again. Really want to thank the chamber for the hosting the reception last night. I would say I came on this board during COVID, and so I wasn't able to experience the gatherings, the kind of the reunion of the board that would happen here in Wickenburg. And I will say that for the first year after COVID, it was kind of slim, and it's been building. And it was really nice last night that we had 5 prior board members. Well, yes, we had 5. And Mr. Elters has got the dubious distinction of being a prior and a current. But with that, it was really good to see some of the previous board members. We had a great visit last night. It was great to see the turnout from the Wickenburg, the visit with the city council, the visit with the chamber, and actually the progress that's been made over the last 30 years here along 93 and through Wickenburg. It's a testament to what can be done. Mayor Smith with Maricopa, please keep that in mind. That things do happen, it just takes time. And so once again, thank you so much for the reception. It's great to be here. Hopefully, we can continue this tradition of coming to Wickenburg in November. And with that, Mr. Elter, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Indeed, it was wonderful for previous board members, other than myself. It was Victor Flores, Steve, let's see,
Rusty.
Rusty Gant, and Bill Feldmeyer. And Floyd, your beard looks great, but it's not as long as Bill.
Has he ever trimmed that up, or is it still Pharaoh? I mean, last time I saw him was this. Yeah.
Yeah, he had it in a ponytail.
Yep.
And see, we can get that him for Christmas.
I think they call that a rat tail when it's a beard.
But it looked good.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh,
Mr.
we'd like to.
You're good.
Just while I have a second here, I wanted to thank Mayor Pereira and all the work that he's done for the community of Wickenburg. And it's not often we get to publicly thank individuals like you, but I feel like it's important. And I just wanted to congratulate the entire community of Wickenburg on your recent award of the $20 million grant for the State Route 93. There's no doubt that that was a heavy lift and a huge undertaking, and I'm grateful that ADOT staff has been supportive of that effort as well. But I have great respect for the leadership that you have here, and know that it will continue on in the next leaders. But I'm very, very appreciative of the work that you've done, your continued commitment to transportation, not just in Wickenburg, but across the state.
No.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. This is my first time in Wickenburg, and it seems very nice. And I stayed at the new hotel, the Cobblestone, and they have a great steakhouse and everything. And looking forward to learning more about the town, your transportation needs. And hello, Mayor. Good to meet you. And so I look forward to our meeting today with your hat.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, Mr. Rorick, but if you'd proceed with the announcement for the Title VI Civil Rights Act?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and the Americans with Disability Act, the Arizona State Transportation Board and ADOT do not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, or disability. No person will be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefit of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination under any Arizona State Transportation Board or ADOT program or activity. To assist in measuring the public's participation, we ask individuals to complete an online self-identification survey, Spanish or English version, and the link to that survey is on the agenda. For those who are attending in person, we have survey cards at the entrance to the chambers. Please complete a card and leave it there. We'll pick it up at the end of the meeting. By completing this voluntary survey, ADOT will be able to determine who attends this public meetings and how the department can improve participation. The survey will also help ADOT fulfill federal reporting requirements. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we'll now move to the call of the audience. There are those that are participating telephonically. The instructions are on the web page. And in person, please note you have a 3-minute time limit. And with that, Mr. Rourke, would you please ask the first speaker?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Our first speaker is Mayor Rui Ferreira.
This is kind of a first for me, being on this side of the dais. Well, good morning, and I just wanted to come up and just thank all of you for coming up to Wickenburg and enjoying beautiful Western hospitality. And hopefully, it sounds like you had a wonderful night's stay at the Cobblestone Hotel. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to thank you for your partnership with the town of Wickenburg. As Ms. Daniels mentioned, we just recently were awarded nearly a little over $20 million actually for a new segment of widening of 93. And that's just gonna be great because it's gonna continue widening a road that needs a lot of assistance. And one of my goals has always been to fully widen that road to 4 lanes all the way to Las Vegas, so that we eliminate many of the accidents that have happened over the last, especially over the last year. Over the last year, we've had some serious fatalities on 93, and it would be great to continue the project to widen it all the way to Las Vegas. But really, it's just a big thank you. We appreciate the partnership. It's been a partnership for many, many years, and we will always welcome you in November. Wickenburg will always be open to the ADOT board for a gathering and to just get to know each other and work with each other. So thank you very much, and welcome to Wickenburg.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I forgot to turn on the microphone. We were
Okay,
here.
Mayor, you're going to have to repeat that.
Well, we're recording it. You can hear the mayor's comments online. Our next speaker is Mayor Nancy Smith. Mayor Smith.
Hi, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm Mayor Nancy Smith from the city of Maricopa. And I'm so glad to see all of your faces. Thank you, Director Toth and staff and the board of directors. Thank you. I want to also thank the Chamber and the City of Wickenburg. They had such lovely hospitality, and I appreciate that. And I was very encouraged hearing about the success of projects on US 93. And I do look forward to some of this project activity happening on State Route 347. They did tease me a little bit about the fact that I had to wait another 10 years. I'm not willing to do that, just so you know. We've been working on this for 20 years, and so I'm hoping we're making major progress. What I wanted to do first is to say the name. As you know, I always say a name of someone, and today it's Anthony Valenzuela, who was 25 years old and lost his life on State Route 347 in November of 2022. I just like to bring it back to the fact that it's a reality. And what I've provided to you on your desk is a copy of a study that was done, the deadliest intersections in the western United States. I often talk about the state of Arizona, and we always knew that Riggs Road and 347 was the 4th deadliest or dangerous intersection. in Arizona, but then when I saw this article from Arizona Family, the deadliest intersections in western United States, the state of Arizona has 5 of the most deadliest intersections, and they are all in Maricopa County. And I'd like to draw your attention to that 2 of them. On page 2 and 3, you'll see 2 intersections that are on State Route 347, Maricopa Road and 347, and then also Riggs Road and State Route 347. And if you're paying attention to 347, and I hope that you all do, and I hope that you're also receiving the emails from our constituents. Problems on 347 is almost becoming a daily problem. And this is something that really needs to be addressed as quickly as possible. Our city has some ideas that we've approached Director Toth with, and we'll be continuing those conversations. And I hope to see some of the wonderful news that I heard last night on US 93 for State Route 347. And wouldn't you love it if I came here and was like, hallelujah! All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Smith, and believe me, we are getting the emails.
Our next speaker is Mr. Paul Ward. Mr. Ward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the State Transportation Board. This will probably be my last attempt at speaking directly to you, but that's what I said about a year and a half ago when I retired the first time, so hopefully this will be it. I mentioned at the last meeting that I was going to give a few facts on inequity in the state highway program. I'm going to do that, and apologies to Member Elters, because all 3 of the counties that I'm going to mention are in his district, so in this particular case, I'm not picking on you, sir, I'm just stating particular facts. Looking at the State Transportation Board program, I beg your pardon, the State Highway Facilities Construction Program for the next 5 years. The Yuma County basically has, and I know I've spoken with Chairman Searle about this briefly at the last meeting, the Yuma County has about $40 million worth of projects programmed over the next 5 years, whereas Mojave County has almost 400 million, and Yavapai County has 400 million. That's not equitable by any means. That's 10 times. And I know this is just one program. I've actually gone back over the past 25 years and taken a look. And in 23 of those years, Yuma County has not received the same amount of money or more that they put into the system. So there's the actual system itself that I understand has been set up by ADOT, and I will say right now, if I was a member of ADOT, which I'm sorry to say and thankful to say I've never had that opportunity, I would almost certainly be doing the same thing that they're doing. And the reason why is because ADOT are required to maintain the state highway system. The major problem on equity in this case is that in Yuma County there are very, very few state routes. As a result, it's almost impossible that Yuma County is going to actually receive the same amount of money that they put into the system. There's a problem with equity there. I would perhaps refer ADOT staff to the minimum guarantee program that was implemented at the federal level, which at least tried to address the equity program. That was an issue where the western states in the US were basically missing out, and most of the money was going to the northeastern states in the US. However, regardless of that, it is a problem that I can foresee, and effectively what's happening is taxpayers in the Yuma County region are having money taken away from them, and it is being spent in other areas of the state. On a long-term basis, past 25 years, that's not going to work. Mr. Chairman, for my last 10 seconds, if I may, I'd like to give a compliment to ADOT staff, regardless of any of the foregoing. I've worked with them on and off for the past 25 years. They truly are astounding individuals in pretty much every single case, and I'd like to thank them very much for that.
Thank you for your comments. And your equity concerns are noted. I believe those of us from rural counties have experienced this continually. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, those are all of the requests to speak that I have received, and I have received no requests to speak online.
all right, very good. With that, I will then close the call to the audience, and we'll move to item 1, which is the director's report. Director Toth, please.
Good morning. I want to thank everyone for welcoming us and hosting us here in Wickenburg. Actually, I just realized when I walked in that the last time I was in Wickenburg was in October of 2014, and I tendered my resignation that day. So it brought back memories. I was like, whoa, okay. I did too until I walked in the door. But it's great to be back, and so thank you. I'll start off with some really great news, and Ms. Daniels and the mayor alluded to that. We've had several grants that I'll go through that we've been fortunate to receive. Obviously, the first one, the $26 million federal grant that goes towards the upgrade of US 93 to a 4-lane divided highway. So it's really exciting that we're here, and we just learned about that, to be able to announce that and talk about that. The second big one to tell you about is $27.5 million for the I-40 Window Rock and Lupton traffic interchange enhancement project, which is located in Apache County. It's another federal grant. It's part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Bridge Investment Program, and it will replace 4 I-40 bridges that were built in 1963, while also providing some safe and accessible pedestrian facilities. Next, we're happy to hear earlier this month, we received $1.36 million for our Igniting Arizona's Digital Delivery Revolution project. The funds are going to go towards developing and piloting modern digital delivery practices on our transportation projects, and I'd like to recognize Audra for her work on getting us through all of that and implementing the digital construction and the digital delivery aspect. Another federal grant in the amount of $1.87 million is going to improve commercial driver's license test sites. This one is from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and it allows us to advance improvements to our CDL skills test sites in Prescott, Show Low, and also Yuma. And another federal grant, I said there were several, in the amount of $27 million was just announced this week through the Low Carbon Transportation Materials Discretion Grant Program. So it will help us to utilize cleaner construction materials. And then another federal grant, McDOT's actually taking the lead. Maricopa County DOT is taking the lead on this one, and will receive $19.6 million to lead a large-scale deployment of vehicle V2X technologies. It's another term for connected vehicle technology. That funding is going to go towards enhancing intersection safety in the cities of Phoenix, Tolleson, Avondale, and also unincorporated Maricopa County, as well as along US 60. Last month, we were made aware that we're going to receive a $72,000 grant from the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety to fund an additional position within our crash records unit as well. So we're really grateful for the amount of grant funding that's coming in, and I want to thank our grants team and other ADOT staff who have really diligently worked and coordinated with others. And again, thank you to the town of Wickenburg, the collaboration on US 93. So real quick update, we just recently attended AASHTO's, and AASHTO is working on their transportation policy forum, is working on their reauthorization effort. So they've been developing position papers, and we've been participating in that and part of the national discussion on the reauthorization. And then on a safety note, I do want to point out that we have started our snow season. We've already begun our annual winter road closures at the higher elevations. And I'll just share a reminder, it's always a great idea to call 511, or you can visit the website at az511.gov, or even better yet, we have an application on your phone, the AZ511 app, for the latest conditions around the road. And of course, we always encourage people to avoid driving in extreme weather, but it's best to be prepared. And you can always go to our website and Know Snow, KNOW, and find some guidance and tips. So, real quick, staying on the topic of safety, Sunday is World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims. And this global event remembers the many millions of people who have been killed or seriously injured as they traverse the nation's roadways. And that leads into Crash Responder Safety Week, which is next week. ADOT will join the Department of Public Safety and other responder agencies for a media event on November 19th to promote traffic incident management efforts to make our highways safer. And a quick update for the board. As part of our sunset audit, the Office of the Auditor General recommended improvements to our conflict of interest disclosure and training process, and they consider the board as public officials pursuant to the statute. So our learning and development team has developed a conflict of interest training online, and Floyd will send you an email next week to provide you that link and information, and we hope that you will participate so that we can get 100% compliance on our sunset audit. And just to wrap up, there is no legislative report today, but I do want to say that we are very excited about Prop 479 passing, and we'll continue to work with MAG to implement that future projects. And also very happy that Proposition 486 passed in Pinal County with the continuation of their road repair sales tax. So with that, I apologize for the length, and that's the end of my report.
All right, thank you, Director Toth. Any questions for the director? Yes, Ms. Daniels.
Just one comment. I appreciate the conflict of interest. I know we've received that form as board members and have returned that as far as the deadline has concerned. But that form that was provided is not designed for a appointed board member position. So if they want really good results, they have to change the form to match the people that are filling it out. So I appreciate the fact that the Auditor General wants us to do this, but there's a bunch of questions in there that just are completely and totally not applicable and pretty difficult for us to respond to. So if we can carry that back to them, they aren't going to get the results they want unless they provide the form that fits the individuals. I'll just say it like that.
All right. Thank you. Any other?
Per usual.
Any other questions for the director? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will bypass item 2. There will be no district report this morning, and we'll go right to the consent agenda, item 3. Is there any item that any board member would like removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Daniels,
Second.
a second by Ms. Leshik. Sorry. Yeah, it's early. So I have a motion and a second. As there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The consent agenda passes unanimously. We'll now move to item number 4, which is our financial report. And is Ms. Ward going to do this remotely?
Good morning. Yeah,
There you are.
I am here attending virtually today, so it facilitated an appointment I needed to make, needed to get to. Good morning, board members, and to continue what the director said, congratulations, board member Daniels. Prop 479 having passed is a big accomplishment. All right, if we could go to the first slide. Okay, let's try the next first slide.
Yeah, next slide, Paul, please.
My goodness, the HERF revenue looks bleak from my end. I'm not seeing any slides. Are you guys able to see something?
Now, right now, we have a black screen, Christine, but give us a second.
No problem.
Paul, I want us to go to Bryce to share? Do you have an issue?
Yeah, maybe she should share.
Bryce, this is Floyd. Will you be able to call up the presentation for item 4?
Yes, I can do that.
Floyd, I should have let you present it when you guys were testing it, and it worked so well this morning.
Yeah, I mean, right, it was working just minutes ago. What the hell's going on? Another one of those things, man. Okay,
I think
go ahead with the second slide. There we
Very
go.
cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bryce.
Oh, so for our HERF revenues, highway user revenue, fund revenue, we're running a little below forecast. We're coming closer back into target range, but still a bit out. We've got about $581 million collected thus far in the year. If you go to the next slide for me, Bryce, while we were right on target and we're coming back into one more, there you go. You'll see that our estimates were 0.1% off on the month. We had 6.3% growth for the month of October. If you can move on to the next slide, Bryce. Cool, thanks so much. With regards to the regional area road fund, again, very similarly, we're just slightly out of forecast range, target range, 1.6%. We've got about $182 million collected year to date. Let's see, next slide, we'll go to the individual month. We had another DOR correction that has thrown our other category a bit further out, and out of forecast. But overall, we're just fine. Like I said, 1.6 behind of the year, cumulative year to date. Nothing that I think is of concern. And we move to the next slide. I have nothing to report on the federal program. You know, I guess I should say we're operating under a continuing resolution that ends December 20th. We are watching that with great interest as we've seen changes go on through the last election cycles. That would be it. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ward. Any questions for Christine at this time? Ms. Howard?
That's okay. There's so many.
I'm sorry. It is early. I see I already messed up both names, so Ms. Daniels.
It's okay. We'll learn name tags for you.
It's the J part. You know, we got Jamesita, Jenny,
I like
Jen.
her a lot, so we're good. No, my question for you, Christine, is you mentioned a DOR adjustment. Would you please elaborate on that as far as what a DOR adjustment might mean for ongoing dialogue with the department?
Absolutely. Mr. Chair, Ms. Daniels, I should have elaborated. One, I used acronyms. The Department of Revenue is DOR, and they audit TPT tax. So they do our TPT audits for all TPT taxes across the state. In this particular case, and we don't get much information, an audit that was conducted in which there were dollars that had to actually be paid, dollars that actually were received or they could be paid out. And that can influence the other category. When there is an audit adjustment, it is captured in the other category. And you'll see for the entirety of 2024, if you look at that slide again, for September's, the month of September, you'll see for the entire year of 2024, all of the other adjustments total $1.8 million. So these are not big numbers, but they will make your percentages look a little unusual. We do not, I would like to elaborate a little bit more if I knew a little bit more, but when they do audit adjustments, we don't get any information there because it's protected taxpayer information.
Well, it's only protected when it's specific to a taxpayer, but when it falls into a broad category such as a DOR adjustment and they're looking from a big picture, it shouldn't actually be protected. Particularly if these are payments into the DOR system, they can collectively be articulated. So I would ask if you can go back and ask them for additional information on the audit. Basically what I'm hearing you say is that they had to make an adjustment to the amount of money that the department was receiving in order to correct sort of an overpayment, if you will. Is that what I'm understanding properly?
No, it's audit revenue from a particular audit that they conducted.
So DOR conducted an audit on a taxpayer.
Correct.
The taxpayer was found to have overpaid or underpaid.
Could be either one.
Well, wouldn't we know based on how the adjustment, which adjustment was made?
I believe, I don't remember this one. You go, let me look here if I have it in my notes.
Well, our dollars went down.
Absolutely, ma'am. There are other items in the other category, but I believe this one is we know it's $460,000. So yes, you are correct.
Okay. And I appreciate the revenue updates that we get every month, but what we don't get every month is the expenses. And I do think that shows a much broader picture of ADOT's overall financial compliance, health, whatever you want to sort of categorize it as. So I would ask that we create a little bit more robust of a financial report, so we're not just looking at revenues, but we're also looking at expenses, particularly as we're being asked to approve contracts at the end of each meeting that may or may not, and historically I think the whole time I've been on the board are generally over budget and not under budget, so just keeping an eye on that number.
Okay, you know, if it'll work for you, I'd like to reach out to you and get a little more information about what you're looking for, and we'll see how we can meet that need.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right, Mr. Elder. And I want to apologize if I call you Mr. Maxwell. You know, I'm batting 100 this morning, so if I do that, I apologize now.
Apology accepted.
Okay.
In advance, in case you do. A follow-up question for Christine, and it's a two-part. One is, how often do these audit adjustments occur, as far as you know? And second, is it always adjusting funds by reducing the amount, or does it work both ways? Do these audit adjustments sometimes bring additional funds, or are they always reducing and taking away?
Yes or no, they work both ways, and they don't happen very frequently. Did I cover both aspects of your question?
Yes, you did. Though brief, but you
Would you like her to fill in the blanks?
a little bit, perhaps. And you know, if you don't have that info at the tip of your fingers, Christine, that's fine. Just really interested in, you know, it happens twice a year or once every 3 years. And yes, over the last, 10, 15 years, it's happened 5 times. And 3 times they took money away, and 2 times they added a few dollars. Just so we understand what it's all about. Thank you.
You know what, I can bring this back to you next month. I'll get a little more familiar with their, what information I can get from them, as well as I'll get back to you on the frequency and so forth. So let me report back next month if that'll work.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Ward? All right. Thank you very much, Christine, and have a great weekend. We'll now move to item number 5 with Ms. Merrick, and I believe you've got 5, 6, and 7 you're going to be presenting.
So I just want to verify, Bryce, are you still presenting, or Paul, you take that back? You're presenting now.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
Paul's taking that.
Okay, thank you.
So you'll click slides? Great.
oh, so you're not doing 5, 6, and 7, no?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm actually going to present items 5 and 6, and Lisa Danka is going to present item 7, which is AC Smart.
Okay.
This is right in front of me.
Yes, it's on the, green light, you just.
Well, it's just, my,
There you,
it's in my vision walking here.
I think there's a stool there you can stand on.
Need a soapbox. This is a good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Like I said, I'll be presenting items 5 and 6 for you today, and then Lisa Danka will be presenting item number 7. So to start, if you can go to the next slide, please. With item number 5, this is the MPD Division Director update with the tribal information here. So some good news, we are continuing to work on opportunities for tribal data sharing. You've heard us report in the past about sharing accident data and try to coordinate some of those efforts. So we've begun outreach to discuss traffic count coordination efforts, which is the volumes on our roads. And we reached out to some of our tribal partners inquiring if they would be interested in working together in these data sharing efforts. And we did hear back in full meetings this month with 3, which is the Tohono O'odham Nation, Salt River, Pima, Maricopa Indian Community, and then BIA Western as well. So in response to those, we're working together trying to really just fill in some gaps on some volume information we have on our roads out there in the tribal area. Next slide, please. This study we talked about last month, which is the 264 corridor planning study. The purpose is to identify and evaluate improvements in the corridor, and then those recommendations will be placed in the P2P process. As a reminder, this was in response to some community interest, and the study starts on the north end, which is the 160-264 junction into the city. It's a 96-mile study, so it extends to the south to the Navajo-Apache County line. And this is really just a quick update to let you know that we did have a project kickoff meeting this past Wednesday up in Flagstaff at the district office. It was well attended, and we expect completion of this study by the end of next year, really probably December. Next slide, please. And then lastly, just a quick summary of some of the partnership meetings we've had also this past Wednesday at the Hopi. We had a Hopi DOT partnership meeting in Flagstaff. And then we're looking to schedule the Navajo Nation DOT and the White Mountain Apache Tribe DOT partnership meeting. And that is the quick tribal transportation update I have for you today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Merrick on this? No? Go ahead.
So we could move on to the next item, which is PPAC.
All right, we'll move to item 6.
Next slide, please. This is item number 6, which is the PPAC requested actions. For the board's consideration, I present the proposed changes to the fiscal year 25-29 statewide transportation facilities construction program. Today I have 2 project modification items for your consideration, which is 6A and 6B. 6A is a pavement rehabilitation project on US 93 that's currently programmed in fiscal year 26. So the good news is we have the design scheduled to be complete in fiscal year 25. So the request to you today is to advance the project construction from fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 25. I'd also like to add, because of the finance discussions we just had, that the capacity does exist to deliver the project in fiscal year 25. Going on to item 6B, that's a request to increase the construction budget $200,000 to meet ADA requirements and some expected increases to the unit prices.
So that now aligns with the current stage 3 estimate. You got some music in the background. So with both of those items, I ask for a motion of the board for project modifications as shown in the agenda packet, item 6A.
Audra, would you be opposed to doing C and D and just do A through D, all of them?
That was going to be my question. We've got 4 items. Is there a reason we need to break them up, or do you would like to?
Just that they were new projects. I can go on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
But let me ask the board, is there any problem with combining all projects?
No.
All right.
Can we go to the next slide then, please, for new projects? Yeah. So I also have the 2 new projects for consideration 6C and 6D. Looking first at 6C, this is the HSIP projects. And this is a request for scoping only of the attached list that you have in your packet, submitted in the recent call for projects. I believe there's 55 projects, 20 are state, 35 are local. A little background, last year we completed a review, we call it a PDCA, of our HSIP programming processes. And we were looking to improve the quality of the scope and the budgets on these projects. And so the resulting recommendation of that PDCA was to scope the HSIP projects and verify their project eligibility for HSIP funding, and then program the design and the construction funds. So state's request is for scoping only. The projects were submitted for the design eligibility of fiscal year 27 and construction eligibility of 28 and 29. So after project scoping, the projects determined to be HSIP eligible will then be brought back to the board for programming of design and construction in those fiscal years. Moving on to item.
Quick question.
Yeah. That's down.
So after it gets through that process and it's determined eligible both for the funding and ready, I guess, for design, is that when you guys will include it in the 5-year plan?
Yeah, right now the request before you is for scoping only.
Right.
And so you'll see it for scoping.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we scope the projects and get the costs, because you have a benefit cost ratio, which determines its eligibility for HSIP.
Right.
Once we determine what those eligible projects are, then we'll bring those projects back to the board for programming of the design and construction funds.
Okay, so the timing works out though that those can be included. They don't have to miss another cycle of the 5-year.
It will be 20, it will be,
Or
the
will it take
scoping,
a
the scoping will be 25, the design we're looking at 27, and then
construction
28, 29
29.
construction.
So at some future date, assuming they move through this process, they'll show up.
But
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Daniels, they could be off the normal program, the 5-year program development, since we modify the program every month.
Right.
And that if when they are ready to go, we will bring them back to the board. And they may not be in this exact lump sum, it might be the ones that are ready as they get ready.
And then at that point, sorry, I'm just trying to follow sort of the process component. So at that point, the funding will also move into the 5-year plan to match. So HSIP funding is kept separated?
The HSIP funding is already sitting there, it's just not itemized out to the specific projects.
Okay.
So for the current 5-year program, you already have the projects assigned for 25 and 26. We do have $2 million sitting there in 25 for the scoping.
Okay.
But in those outer years, we don't have those specific projects.
Okay. I just, you're always looking for the math for it to balance out, and so I just wanted to make sure I knew when things were moving in and out. Thank you.
Yeah.
May I move on to the next
Yeah.
one?
Mr. Chair, I have a
Okay.
Question.
Does this include, does 6C include, or is it separate from the tribal plans, any planning of the tribes? And I'm asking out, I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but one of the things that was a problem for getting funding for roads that were on tribal lands, but also connected, or there was some right of way with ADOT roads, and then there was not questions, but there was also jurisdiction not only from the tribe, but the federal, like a BIA road connecting to a Navajo Nation road or where the Navajo and Hopi jurisdictions all came together. And one of the things that I found in seeking funding for some of those areas where the jurisdiction and who would be the principal or lead in such a project, where exactly did that the planning for that start? And for example, there is an unfinished road from Whippoorwill between Chinle and Palaka. There we have a beautiful brand new regular highway that goes for 13 miles and then just stops and then you go into an undeveloped dirt road that people get stuck in, and I think I don't know if there's been any fatalities, but so nobody, as far as I know, has been able to figure out who would take the lead on that, because it is federal, it is separate tribes, and then also state. And one of the things that I'm asking is to help untangle that, because it's been there since that new road was built by then Congressman Rick Renzi's funding. So it's been, my daughter was 5 years old, now she's mid-20s. So I want to ask that because I don't know.
So Board Member Peshlikai, I'd be more than willing to round back with you after this meeting, have conversations about that specific roadway that you're talking about and see how we can work together on that. This item 6C is HSIP, which is Highway Safety or Improvement Projects, and it's a competitive process. So we put out a call for projects and people submit, and then we evaluate them, and then they come through the Transportation Board. The HSIP funding may or may not work for the project that you're talking about. I'm not sure at the moment, but we can certainly have follow-up conversations on the route that you're talking about, and for me to better understand and see how we can work with you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I apologize for taking up everybody's time on that question.
That's all good.
Thank you.
Got it. Any other questions on the list of these projects? All right.
Moving on then to item 6D, which is another new project. This is a request for, I think we need to go
back, Paul. Yeah, it's still on.
Actually, I don't know that it's on it's on the amended agenda.
It's on the amended, but it was added for
Right.
discussion as well and possible action.
So 6D is on the current slide, thank you. We're good. The request 6D is for $2 million of fiscal year 25 design funding for the Douglas Port of Entry Inspection Facility Complex. Some background is the Douglas POE Inspection Facility Complex is identified on ADOT's illustrative list in the 25-29 program. The tribal the total project amount on the illustrative list is to be determined, with a construction set-aside amount of $10 million in fiscal year 26. So the request today is for $2 million for design in 2025. And what we're looking to do is we're looking at the potential of co-locating with GSA and FMCSA, so pretty much border control and federal motor carrier on this site. GSA recently did get a design contractor on team to start their design. So our intent is to partner with GSA and provide design funds for our portion of the proposed site area to determine the feasibility and the construction cost of that. So with that, I do ask them for the motion of the board for new projects, or for the modification and new projects, I guess, 8A through 8D. Being more than happy to take any additional questions.
Okay. Any questions on the last item? only one comment. Mr. Rourke and I talked about this item a little bit, and after I paid for breakfast this morning, I can understand why it's cost $2 million.
Yeah, exactly. Everything else.
So
I do want to be clear though, you said 8A, it's item 6A through 60.
6A through 6D, yes. Yes.
Correct.
So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve PPAC items 6A through 6D.
Mr. Chairman, I do fully agree with the need for scoping on the HSIP project. I think it will refine and enhance the process and the specific projects moving forward. And being familiar with US 93 and the need for that pavement preservation, I'll be happy to make a motion to approve items 6A through 6D as requested.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Elters. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bannon.
If you just say Jen, you'll cover it all.
Okay. Anyhow, all right, so I do have a motion, I do have a second, and if there's no other comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item 6 is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Merrick. Now better to item 7, which is Arizona State Match Advantage for Rural Transportation.
Let's just call it AZ Smart.
AZ Smart. I'm having a hard time speaking this morning anyhow, so that's...
What did you do last night?
Good morning, members. For the record, I'm Lisa Danka, and I am the AZ Smart Program Manager. Today we have one action and an update on the new program. Next slide, please. The action first is a rescission of the design award that was made to the City of Sierra Vista. The board awarded $219,722 for design in June of 2023 for the North Garden Avenue, Bright Boulevard to Fort Avenue project. As highlighted on this slide, the AZ Smart Law requires that design expenditures must meet federal standards in order to be reimbursed from the program. The program guidelines and the application instructions approved by the board when the program first started in 22 also included this requirement. Meeting federal standards means that design expenditures, typically to hire a consultant to actually design a project, must be incurred under a procurement or a solicitation, which includes all applicable federal contract provisions. Unfortunately, the city solicitation to hire their consultant did not include these provisions. As a result, we've determined that AZ Smart is not eligible or not legally able to reimburse them. We've informed the city about this and talked with them to see if they had any further information that may alter this determination, but their procurement staff has confirmed that they procured their consultant under the state procurement law, and that it did not include those federal provisions. So since we cannot legally reimburse the city, we are today asking the board to rescind that award, which will return that $219,722 to our most popular category, which is the municipalities over 10,000. Now, the city's aware of this action, and we told them that even though we can't help them with the design, we're encouraging them to come back to the program to request match on a potential federal grant application, because it is a worthy project and we really would like to be able to support it. As a result of this situation, the new AZ Smart program places much greater emphasis on the requirement to meet federal standards. We've done a number of things to make sure that it's very clear to everyone. First of all, we've added a definition regarding federal standards in the RFGAA. We are providing links to FHWA, FTA, other federal agencies as we identify if they have a webpage related to federal procurement contract, let me try that again, federal contract provisions that need to be included. We'll continue to add to that as we go. We have included expenditures that do not meet federal standards as an ineligible use of AZ Smart Fund in the RFGAA. And then we've added numerous references throughout the RFGAA on the importance of meeting federal standards. I'd like to, if we can have the next slide, please. I'd like to quickly give you an update on the new program in addition to the items I just went over. We did get the RFGAA posted on November 1st, as we promised the stakeholders. It might not have been until 8 o'clock at night, but it was before midnight. We had a pre-application conference yesterday for the program. At least 60 people participated in that conference. We did tape it, and we will be posting it on the AZ Smart website for later on-demand viewing. And in that pre-application conference, we reviewed the program. We did a fairly in-depth review of the RFGAA. We looked at the AZ Smart website, and we took what questions we could. Quick note about questions regarding the new program. Because the RFGAA is much more like an RFP or a regular procurement, we are asking that all questions be submitted to the AZ Smart email box so that we can review them and post them on the questions and answers page, enabling everyone to have the benefit of that information as opposed to directly answering questions. We need everybody to be able to know about an answer or new information. So we would ask the board, if you do receive questions, please either contact us or direct your contact to the AZ Smart at azdot.gov email box for submission of those questions. We will review them and get answers up as soon as possible. A couple of other quick things that will impact what you see coming before you in the future with the new program. The grant statute does require that we post the name of every applicant as these applications come in, and we will fulfill this requirement by posting the names of the applicants on the AZ Smart page. We will also provide a list at PPAC and to the board so that there are at least 3 public bites at the apple for folks knowing who has come into the program. That's all we can release at that point is their names. We will probably bring applications to you under the new program. The earliest will be January. And in the training yesterday, we trained to the fact that how quickly an application makes it to the board is really a function of the quality, in particular the scope, schedule, and budget. And we hope that we will get good quality applications to bring through to you as soon as possible. We are in that 6-week period beginning on November 1st, which is referred to as an application period under the grant statute. We have not received any applications to date. So I have nothing to share with you yet, but the first review of applications will be mid-December when that 6-week period is up. And then hopefully, we'll be able to process enough that you can see them on your January agenda. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is with regard to developing scope, schedule, and budget. This is really critical, and again, it's a function of getting applications through quickly. We have let applicants know that the cost to develop scope, schedule, and budget for their AZ Smart application is eligible under a design award as long as 2 things happen. First of all, they had to have procured that consultant under a solicitation, which include those federal contract provisions, so that they meet federal standards, because essentially they'd be coming in asking us to reimburse those funds. In addition, they need to include those costs in the program budget that they submit in their request. We're encouraging applicants to look at their procurements now, make sure that they meet federal standards, and not to wait until a NOFO comes out on the street. That's not enough time for them to, do a solicitation and take care of everything that they need to do. We emphasized this again in the training yesterday and in the RFGAA. Next slide, please. Okay, this is your regular AZ Smart monthly slide. As of the end of October, the yellow line represents the funding that is available in each of those categories. You can see that there is a note there regarding the Sierra Vista rescission. Once you approve that, it will pop that category, which is communities over 10, to about $538,000 and change. Now, since October 31st, each category has earned roughly $954,000 in interest, and we have a couple of additional points that you'll see being represented in the future. The first is that the funding to administer this larger and more complex program is not yet reflected here. The statute enables ADOT to use 5% of the interest earned in the previous fiscal year for that administration. In the future, you'll see that coming out of the interest earnings. The second item is in January, you will have your first opportunity to pool these funds and redistribute them equally across the 5 categories. And we will begin to reflect that for you so that you know what it would look like after that's done, before you take the vote. Next slide, please. Finally, here's the requested action this month related to the Sierra Vista DOES Award, where we have a motion to rescind the June 16th, 2023 design award to the City of Sierra Vista for North Garden Avenue, Fry Boulevard to Fort Avenue in the amount of $219,722. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions at this time?
A few, but board member Passion Titus.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Chair. And I just want to go on the record saying that I can be called Pesh.
Pesh?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I go by that. It's an old army name. So, okay. On this slide and the slide before,
Can we go back to the previous slide?
Yeah. So, in red it says Sierra Vista will rescission will increase available amount to 538, but the actual rescission, am I saying that correctly?
Yes,
It's 217,000. So
correct.
Why is there what's the rest?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I can't call you Pesh.
Pesh Kai. Okay, Chairman can call me Pesh.
Okay.
Everybody else
Well, I
can
tell you
call me
what,
Pesh.
I went to the reception last night. I have an excuse for not being able to speak this morning. Everybody else, you're on your own. Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's 318,000 in there right now.
Okay.
Once you vote for the rescission, it will be increased by the 217.
Okay.
And that's where that's where the 538 comes from. It's the sum of the existing plus the rescission.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Good. Any other? Ms. Daniels?
I'm assuming this was a clerical error.
Mr. Chair, Member Daniels, we did talk with the city, and I believe that it's just something that they missed. And he said that he did learn an important lesson here. If I remember correctly, I personally did not have the conversation with him, but it was just an error, whether it was clerical or anything else.
How did we learn of the error?
They submitted an invoice for reimbursement, and we asked for the solicitation to ensure
Compliance.
that it was procured to federal standards so that, we're following the law
Right.
in terms of administering the program.
And I can see why it might be confusing for a municipality, given that it's called the AZ Smart Fund and not a federal, it's not specifically delineated sort of in title or, and also we asked the legislature to assist in funding that. And I know a lot of our rural communities are very aware of that because they're speaking regularly with their legislators to say, hey, we need you to put more money into the AZ Smart Fund. So I can see why there would be some confusion. What happens if we don't rescind the decision? Are we putting other funding in jeopardy? What if we say, hey, we get it, you made a mistake, let's continue on?
Well, I'd have to defer to the board's counsel on that, but the statute requires that design awards meet federal standards, or that expenditures meet federal standards.
So Arizona statute
Yes,
is.
the AC Smart statute does. Can you go back
I saw the line in there. I was
Yeah.
just, and then as far as their consultant that they solicited, I'm assuming again we just mentioned them as a consultant. Were they the design and engineering consultant?
I don't know that for sure. I would be guessing. I'm assuming that's the case because that's usually who you would hire to design a project, but I'd need to confirm that.
Okay, because it does say to reimburse design and other engineering services expenditures, and so I do believe we're, without clarifying that is in fact what that individual was doing, right? If that's what you have to have falling under federal guidelines.
Correct.
I'm always looking for ways to just say it's okay, you made a mistake.
We tried.
I'm parenting the.
Yes,
yeah,
we
it's
tried.
fine.
Unfortunately, their procurement staff has confirmed that it was the services were procured under AZ procurement law.
Okay.
And that's why we're making a much bigger deal about it in the new program, because, it's pretty clear in the statute.
I'm one to follow a rule as soon as I know that it exists, but if it's not a written down rule, I like to break them as often as possible. And so that's why I'm kind of like, what? How firm of a rule are we talking about? Is it not written down?
Well,
Now, obviously, if it's in statute, it's a real rule. So.
Mr. Chair, Board Member Daniels, it's not a rule, it's actually statute.
Well, statute,
and,
laws are rules, right? So, I get it. Yeah, I understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to bend it. I promise.
Gotcha.
All the other rules, unwritten, I will bend, but not the ones that are written down.
Ms. Andrews, I appreciate the questions and the comments. I was actually going to ask the same ones myself, and because Sierra Vista, they went forward with the good intent of following this, and
yes, they did.
And I will say that I haven't heard from Sierra Vista. If they really were in an issue, I think they would have reached out and asked for some help, and they haven't done so. So understanding the situation and the jeopardy that it puts into the whole program, I understand the need to do this.
Right.
But Mr. Elton.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And piggybacking off of the discussion, as far as federal dollars are concerned and compliance with federal requirements, from a local perspective, being involved with it day in and day out as it relates to ARPA funds and dissemination of those, I understand the need to comply, and there's not a whole lot of wiggle room, so I would not be, I would not want to deviate from that. But with that said, is there an opportunity here for a swap of some sort where the program at its core is designed to help those communities move projects forward? So is there an opportunity to swap those dollars with state funds of some kind? Years ago there was a swap to facilitate some of the rigid requirements of the federal dollars. And I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity here in order to honor the intent of the program and facilitate moving projects forward, is there a way to do some swapping of funds so that it's a state fund, not federal dollar, and these issues, some of these issues, probably this one included, would go away.
Oh,
Mr. Chair, Board Member Elters, these are state funds. They were appropriated from the State General Fund by the legislature to the AZ Smart Fund. The challenge here is the AZ Smart law says that the expenditures must meet federal standards. So,
by using the design team that they did, does it jeopardize the rest of the grant application that they were going to try to do for gardening?
Mr. Chair, they have not submitted a federal discretionary grant application yet, to my knowledge, and we did encourage them to pursue that and come into us and request the match on that federal discretionary grant. If it requires a match, it depends on which grant they pursue.
So, using the existing design standards that they did for this project, they didn't use a consultant that was on the approved list. Does that jeopardize the work that they've got, that they've had to?
I think that's an assumption that they didn't use somebody that's on an approved list. They just didn't put it in their solicitation that they needed to meet federal guidelines. It wasn't a requirement of the response.
So, Mr. Chair and board members, that is correct. The design that they're developing, they're paying for themselves, as long as, and the design will be whatever they want, but when they apply for the federal application for the grant, they have to meet the federal requirements of the grant. Procurement's done on the design. The procurement for the grant application must meet federal guidelines. So this does not jeopardize that. Because they cannot submit an application unless that application meets federal guidelines. The design will have already been done.
You know, this sounds right up my alley to vote no on. But anyhow.
I think if we wanted to have an adjustment to the requirement for federal guidelines, we'd have to go back to the legislature, and I'm not sure we want to do that. That sounds like not enough.
That money would
juice
just
for
sit
this
there. We
place.
couldn't do anything with it
Exactly.
until something, either the law changed or
Yeah.
time passed to the point where the funds go away. I don't know. The
Right.
funds would just sit there.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Where,
And you
I'm
can just
not,
call me chair.
okay, Mr. Chair. I'm wondering, and I agree with everybody's discussion, I'm wondering where it is that there is, where the reach of the federal standards, where there's an area where the cities or those applicants are not getting outreach or assistance of some sort from I would say in this case the federal government, as far as in making sure that even though it's state funding, that the reach of the federal government goes into that award. And because I think just like it goes back to the issue of equity, when you're a small municipality or a small applicant, something like this might go under the radar, even though I'm sure, like we are saying, it's a something that wasn't intended or whatever by the Sierra Vista, but I can see it happening again in the future. And then I'm also wondering, I know you're doing everything you can so it doesn't happen again, but the responsibility is beyond yours, your office, I would think, in the Arizona SMART program. What kind of support or data collection on this kind of thing happening? What kind of numbers are coming out as far as awards, denials, and then money's being rescinded. I mean, it's beyond your office is what I'm saying. And how do we track that? And is the federal government assisting with that? Or is there any other oversight? And yeah, that's my question.
Lisa,
That's a lot.
So, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Keshlikai, if I could just make a clarification. This program is a state program and not a federal program, so there's not federal oversight on this program. So it is in the discretion of this board in terms of how to administer the program as well as what's in state statute. So I just wanted to make that clarification that there is no federal oversight to this particular program.
So I'm going to say I'm still new. So I don't understand how we have that federal requirement. Yeah.
So then, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the intent of the program was to help local jurisdictions to apply for federal grants. And so, you know, it was put in the state statute for whatever reason, you know, that they have to meet those federal requirements for procurement. So, you know, we can always take a look at that during the next session and have some discussion in terms of trying to change that. But, you know, that we also don't want to jeopardize the funds to be able to do that. And then in terms of your question in relation to being able to assist others, Lisa mentioned the 5% for administration, and that's what we're looking at, is to try to be able to hire some people to assist in that aspect of being able to administer or provide that technical assistance to local jurisdictions so that they may not have that assistance right now or that skill in-house, and so that we would be able to assist them with that.
And if I could just add to that, the new program involves a courtesy technical review of all applications. And that will be one of the things that we have on our list when we provide them a review recap is, you know, are your design expenditures procured? And we're actually even asking that in the application. And we are asking them to provide us with the application. They can upload it in the application itself, you know, so we can confirm that. And if we don't see it there, you know, then that's clearly one of the things we're going to go back to them with. And it will give them an opportunity to adjust, to amend their application before they get scored, go to KPAC, or come to you. So we're trying to address it from a few different directions.
And I don't want to belabor the point. I'm actually going to mention something else. But Board Member Keshlikai, I've been on this board for 5 years, and I still learn new things at every single board meeting. So please know you're in good company.
And it's a new program.
Yeah,
we're all going to learn.
Yeah. Question: now that the names of the applicants are required to be made public, would it be possible for us on a monthly basis, in addition to this spreadsheet that I think is really helpful where we can see the balances, that we also have a map? Maybe
Sure.
A map of the applications
You bet.
with a little dot that says, you know, where part of this I think will help us get to the equity conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So we could have like a green dot for the people that have been, you know, in municipalities that have been awarded or jurisdictions that have been awarded. Maybe a yellow that they're in application. And I do expect there to be a lot of competition, I
Yes.
think, for these funds in the coming. And I do want to make sure that we're looking statewide at where the funds are being applied.
Yes.
And also, I think that would be a great opportunity for us to go back to the legislature and let them know in a very easy and simple way where in which districts those dollars have been a benefit.
Mr. Chair, Member Daniels, we do have a map in the making, actually.
Oh, great.
To show who's been awarded either design, match, or grant development and submission. And we'll start to bring that to you monthly.
Thank you, that'd be helpful.
My pleasure.
Mr. Eldridge.
Yeah, in the interest of time and understanding what this means to the city and the concern from the board members, and with no desire to violate or not comply with the state statutes, and satisfied that the department has done everything they could to vet and point out what is needed for compliance, and haven't taken steps to mitigate and reduce the chances of it happening in the future. I will make a motion to rescind the 6/16/2023 design award to the city of Sierra Vista for North Garden Avenue, Fry Boulevard to Fort Avenue in the amount of, $219,722.
I have a motion by Mr. Eldridge. The second for purposes of procedure. A second by Ms. Daniels, okay. And I think I'd like to echo a little bit that I think I hear all the board members, concerned about this rescission. I don't think it's something that we would like to see done, but I think we also understand the issue at hand, and there's lots of ways of learning things, and experience is probably the best teacher. And this is obviously an experienced situation. So this is my district, and I think if they really had concerns, they would have reached out to me. So with that, I will support the motion in front of us. So with that, all those in favor of the motion to rescind, say aye.
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 Chair vote yes.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say that I think that, and I don't want to step on any toes or anything, but I think it's something that it needs to go back to the legislature. That's how I feel about it, because in a state where we want less government, this is, I think, clearly a statute or a rule that is puts up challenges and obstacles for communities to get funding. And with that, Mr. Chair, I vote aye.
No, I thought I might have a chance of turning something down. All right. With that, the chair votes aye as well. And the motion passes to rescind this unanimously.
Thank you, members.
All right. Thank you, Lisa, for the presentation. Now I'll move to item number 8. Mr. Byers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. Start off with, we have 97 projects that are under construction worth $2.5 billion. 3 projects were finalized in the month of October worth $10.6 million. And fiscal year to date, we have finalized 39 projects. Next slide, please. We're just going to go around through all the different districts on the projects that we have ongoing. Next slide. So we'll start off with the South Central District. We've got 5 projects that we're looking at here. The SR-87 Skousen traffic signal. That project is now under construction. It's about 2.6% complete. The I-10 widening, I-10 to Ruthroth through the city of Tucson is actually going very well. The main line is now open for traffic. That project's right at about 70% complete. The I-10 Country Club to Keno design build project is now starting into the design portion of that project. And the I-19 in Irvington TI is in final design. That's getting going fairly well. And we also have the SR-90 Border Patrol Station to Mosen Road. That one is right at about 20% complete to date. Next slide. So North Central District, we've got 4 projects we're looking at there. SR 89 to North Lake Powell Boulevard Roundabout. That is looking to be completed somewhere around the summer of 25. SR 89, drainage and erosion improvements. That project is under construction, it's getting ready to start construction in April of 2025. And we also have I-17, Willard Springs Wildlife Overpass. That project is currently at 95% in its design phase. So we're looking at trying to get that under construction in 2025. Next slide. Next slide are the Southwest District. We have the I-10 skate and wash to Paloma Pavement Preservation Project, which is about 50% complete right now. Also, we have I-10 Dome Rock Road to skate and wash. That project is, they're starting to put in signs and seating, trying to get that all finished up. Thermal striping is the next thing to do there. The I-10 truck parking availability system, truck parking is about 85% complete right now. Current activities are calibrating all the cameras and installing the signs on that. Next slide.
Mr. Byers, on that,
Yes.
I noticed not only on this here on in La Paz County, but I noticed the signs going up in Cochise County as well on I-10. And you're expecting those to be into service when?
So those should be in service coming in probably in about another 3 months.
3 months, okay.
So those signs that you see are run all the way from Texas all the way through California. So those.
That's your motorcycle, by the way. What the hell, man?
You know you have a real engineer in your hands when his ringtone is like trucks moving.
That's as
You
hard.
know, you're lucky that Miss Merritt just didn't sit on it, you know.
Wonderful effort.
But the signs that you were talking about, those are all along I-10 all the way from California through Texas.
Okay.
So as truckers are going through, then they're getting to
Well, I've
see.
noticed in New Mexico they're already being in use.
Yeah. So
Okay.
ours will be, once we get all the cameras set up and actually initiate everything, which will be about a month and a half or so, then we'll initiate the use of the signs. So, next slide. So, let's see here, southeast, southwest. Did you go to the next slide? Southwest, there you go.
We just did that one.
We just did that one, so I'm out of order. Go ahead to the next one, southeast. I'm out. Okay, so southeast, we've got 3 different projects that we're looking at here. US 191 and SR 75 and SR 78. That's a construction of the roundabout. Right now, that project's about 33% complete. We've got County Road 220 in Yellow Jacket Road. That project is under design. It's about 95% on the design. East Wilcox TI is currently it's a bridge rehab project, and we've got that's under construction mobilization, and the bridge overpass is scheduled for November 11th. So next slide. So northwest, we've got Rancho Santa Fe Parkway TI. That project is actually had a partnering meeting earlier this week. Little Ranch Road, the installation of left turn lanes. They started the surveying on that project, so it's getting going. Silver Creek Road and Laredo Drive, those are, it's mostly curb and gutter and lighting, and so they've got the light pole foundations ongoing as we speak. Next slide. So Northeast District, we've got the Coyote Wash Bridge. That one is a superstructure replacement, and that project is about 95% complete. The Pinto Macara pavement rehab, and the Dead River Bridge Ultra High Performance Concrete Overlay, which is one of the first ones that we've done across the state. That project is about 55% complete. Crestview and Joy, Nevin, and Holbrook. That project is currently installing concrete and ADA upgrades, so it's getting close. The paving on that will actually occur this spring. SR 77, Taylor to Rodeo Road, and Snowflake. That project is about 40% complete. Next slide. Last one we have is Central District. Several projects there. The I-17 grinding project is about 95% complete. That's been kind of a rough project. SR 101, the Pima Freeway, we're at about 60% complete on the mainline paving on that project. That's actually going fairly well. And then just as a highlight of a couple of other projects we've got here, the Gila River Bridge project on the I-10 corridor. They set the girders on the eastbound portion of the bridges, so that's actually going well. They're starting to do the superstructure work for the westbound. So next slide. So I've got a couple of corridor updates that were requested from the board earlier. The first one is US 93. So if you go to the next slide. This one lists all of the projects that we currently have either under design or in construction or are being scoped. So you'll see we got quite a few that are getting ready to go. One of the ones that's on here that it says it's in design, but you're actually going to vote on it because we have actually bid that project out. That's King Springs. So we've got quite a bit going on there. All of these are ongoing, so there's quite a bit. We don't have, some of these are in future dates, so there's no funding for those at this point, but they're on the list to get put into either the current or not the current program, but the next program. So if there's any questions on any of those.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, no questions. Thank you, Mr. Byers. It really just shows how much has been done on that corridor and how much is yet to be done. It's 100 miles long. It's ski corridor. For myself and many of the folks that I talked to are very grateful for what's been done to this corridor over the years and the commitment to stay on it until it's complete. So thank you for this update. This is really helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No problem. One thing to note on this is the projects that are listed with double asterisks, those are the projects that will actually be widening to the 4 lanes. That will, with all of those projects completed, that will be all of the 4 lane. That'll make for a contiguous 4 lane all the way from Wickenburg to I-40.
Especially for
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to make a comment as well. I remember I was in the legislature about 15 years ago when this was just a vision and I wasn't quite seeing it. And so I like being here at this point in time to see the steps and how it's progressed and where it's going. And so I just wanted to say that it's taken a lot of work, and I'm glad that we had the leadership and the visionaries at that time to get this going, because it has become a very important road in our state. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
If we can go to the next slide. So the next one is 347, SR 347. This lists the different projects that we have and where we're at as far as the progress of each of the different projects. Kind of starting up at the top end of the slide there, we've got the pavement preservation project that goes from I-10 down further south. We also have the Riggs Road interchange. Now that is going to be a grade separated interchange. So that's actually a really big one that was mentioned by the mayor earlier. We also have the Mammoth Way and the Casablanca Road interchanges that we're looking at on it. And then of course the 347 to I-10 widening itself. That's a very big project with preliminary design that's underway right now. There's a lot of work that's being done on that to try and make sure that we're incorporating in all of the public comments to get all of that done, as well as working with the tribal entities on all of these projects. So, any questions on this slide?
Any questions? All right.
Great. Next slide. So this kind of gives you a timeline of what we're talking about with the different projects for the 347. Kind of takes you all the way from the pre-design through to open for traffic. So, next slide. So that's it for item 8, and we'll go on to
Any other, before we move to item 9 for new construction contracts, are there any questions on the corridor updates? All right. Thank you, Mr. Byers. Go ahead, 9.
So for item 9, we've got several projects. Unfortunately, we had no projects on the consent agenda this month. All these projects are coming to you because of the variances that we've seen. So as of this month, we're actually quite a bit under, but it's mostly all from one project. We're still under on the year to date, but you got to remember we started off in a big hole.
I'm sure you'll get into it, but there's quite a bit of savings on the one contract, but the other ones are all a bit over. Are we missing something here?
We're actually, we've been doing very well because we've been utilizing as we're doing our estimates, we've been using our trend lines to take and look at future bidding. This month took a turn. So we're still using our trend line, but costs have started to accelerate back up. Most of the ones, and you're going to see this as we go through it, majority of these are all ITS or traffic signal or lighting projects. And the cost on all those electrical components is what we're seeing as being a major gain in cost.
Okay.
So,
not to take away, just, okay.
Yeah. So, next slide. So year to date, like I said, we're still a little bit in the hole, but we're gaining on it slightly. Next slide. So for item 9A, this is a install CCTV, DMS, and runway driving detection. The low bid was $6,194,029. State's estimate was $4,579,661, a difference of $1,614,368, or 35.3% over the engineer's estimate. What we saw with this is the...
Hang on, are we on the same item?
Yeah, we have an issue here.
I think we're...
I'm sorry, we went from...
Yes, I think we got the wrong contract in front of us.
Now I'm out of order.
It was that motorcycle.
My 9A is missing. Here it is. Okay. Sorry about that.
No, I was lost there for a minute or two. I was sitting there.
So this is item 9A. This is I-10 west of Siloam Road to west of Tonopah. This one we had 4 bidders. The low bid was $19,625,527. State's estimate was $25,593,820. A difference of $5,968,293, or 23.3% under the engineer's estimate. On this one, the big one that we saw was the contractor's production rate was much higher than what we had estimated. Also, the contractor is utilizing almost all of the wrap material back into the project. So instead of having to haul it all off, he's actually utilizing it with a portable plant that he's moving on site. With that, the bid is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Fisher Sand Gravel Company.
Okay, any questions on 9A? Hearing no questions, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so I had a motion by Ms. Daniels. Okay, and I had a second by both, so Ms. Nicole, you can take your pick.
Can arm wrestle?
So I motion in a second. If there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion in front of us, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. 9A passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now I'm going to go back to 9B. So installing the CCTVs, DMS, and runway driver detection. We had two bidders on this project. The low bid, $6,194,029. State's estimate was $4,579,661. A difference of $1,614,368, or 35.3% over the engineer's estimate. Again, the project is in site locations are multiple locations across the site or across the state. There's traffic control for these because of the separation that we've got. It was actually quite a bit more than what was estimated, as well as the cost of many of the items as far as the electrical was concerned. The low bid is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to William Charles Construction Company, LLC.
Okay. Any questions on item 9B? I would take a motion.
So
All
moved.
right, I have a motion by Mr. Elters. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Daniels. No questions. All those in favor of 9B, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item passes unanimously.
So next item is item 9C. This is a bridge rehab project on I-40 at 8th Avenue. We've got we have 5 bidders on this project. The low bid is $1,645,722. State's estimate was $1,085,198. The difference is $560,524, or 51.7% over the engineer's estimate. On this particular one, the low bidder indicated that the slower production rates and the milling for this was quite a bit different than what we had estimated. One of the other things is that we're going to have to keep traffic open on this particular bridge, so the phasing of this is actually, the contractor is looking at doing it in 4 segments instead of a single segment, obviously. But after reviewing the bid, this is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Vasco Inc.
Right. Any questions, Mr. Byers, on this item? This is your district. Would you like to make the motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item 9C.
To Vasco Inc. as presented. I have a motion by Ms.
Vasco,
Peslikai. Second.
I'll second it.
All right. And Mr. Elters. Second. I have a motion and a second. If there's no other questions or comments, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item 9C passes unanimously.
Next item is 9D. This is a emergency relief project. This is on US 60, Schultz Ranch, right outside the town of Miami. We have 1 bidder on this project. The low bid was $4,768,811. State's estimate was $3,267,870. A difference of $1,500,941, or 45.9% over the engineer's estimate. The big differences that we saw was the bidder was talking about a very slow process with the earthwork for this project. There was also costs for the riprap were higher than what was expected, as well as for asphalt and some of the attenuators. After review and analysis of the low bid, it's determined to be a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Meridian Engineering Company.
Okay. And it looks like all the savings that we had in 9A we're spending out on the rest of these, so it looks like we're going to balance out fairly decently. And Ms. Daniels, I know I referred to you as Ms. Howard earlier, and this is
Happy to help.
it's her district. Would you be glad to, would
Sure.
you be willing to make the motion on this item?
Yes, so moved. I also really quick want to just make sure I have timing right on this one. Will this work begin prior to the spring season? I know that Miami has been hit really hard over the last several years with some of their flooding challenges, so I just wanted to check on timing.
So all of it, with the exception of some of the paving, will be completed. So the actual drainage structures and everything, this is the right time to do it because
Exactly.
generally we don't have much rain.
To get ahead of it. Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a motion by Ms. Daniels
Second.
and a second by Ms. Peschelkai. And with that, I'm going to ask for the vote. All those in favor of item 9D, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it passes unanimously.
Next item is item 9F. This is the
9E or 9F?
You want to do 9E, it's a better story.
Let's try this.
We need to pay for the projects we just.
9E, this is a widening of US 93 at Cane Springs. This is the project that I was talking about that we can talk about later. With this, we actually had 6 bidders on this project. The low bid was $48,750,981. State's estimate was $69,492,802, a difference of $20,741,821, or a difference of 29.8%. The biggest item that we saw on this was roadway excavation, as well as the soil cement bank protection. The rates at which the contractor is looking at doing this was quite a bit higher than what was estimated. We also had the aggregate bases and all of the aggregates for the project itself. The contractor had a much lower cost for these, so that made a huge difference in this. After review and analysis of the low bid, the bid is determined to be a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to F&F Construction, Inc.
You know, Mr. Byers, I don't think it takes a whole lot of justification to approve a contract that comes in at $20 million less. So that I'd like to make a motion on this one. So just to spread the work around, I'm going to make a motion to approve item 9E to F&F Construction as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I would love to.
Since this is your road as well, so.
I'd love to second that and point out 2 things really. One is reflecting on the corridor update that Mr. Bauer provided earlier. This is the last segment of a 30-mile stretch of US 93 from Wiki up to I-40. When complete, it will make that entire 30-mile stretch a 4-lane divided highway. And second, the contractor that is the low bidder is very familiar with this corridor and I believe completed the last project on this corridor. So this is a good bid and I will happily second that.
Yeah. I probably should have let you make the motion.
No, you did great. I
All right.
appreciate you making it.
So, all right, we have a motion and we have a second. If there's no other comments, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item 9E passes unanimously. 9, now we can go to 9F.
Now we can go to 9F. So 9F is the pump station connectivity project. For this, we had 2 bidders. The low bid was $1,967,267. State's estimate was $1,630,115, a difference of $337,152, or 20.7% over the engineer's estimate. For this one, the biggest difference we saw was the cost of the installation for the electrical conduit was a little bit higher than what we had expected. Also, there was an extreme difference in the Ethernet switches that were required for the project. After review of the low bid, it is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Granite Construction Company.
Ms. Daniels, would you like to make a motion on this item?
So moved.
All right, so a motion, Ms. Daniels, a second by Ms. Peslakai. If there's no other discussion or questions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item 9F passes unanimously. 9G.
So item 9G, this is the installation of fiber optic cable through the town of Queen Creek. For this, we had 6 bidders. The low bid was $1,762,322. The state's estimate is $1,584,836, a difference of $177,486, or 11.2% over the engineer's estimate. The biggest difference that we saw in the cost of this was the fiber optic equipment itself. For this one, it was determined that the low bidder, or the bid for the low bidder is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to William Charles Construction Company, LLC.
Ms. Daniels, your district?
So moved.
Second? Mr. Elders, thank you. Any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item 9G passes unanimously.
So next item is 9H. This is the installation of traffic signal for the city of Lake Havasu. For this one, we had 2 bidders. The low bid was $1,252,101. The state's estimate was $745,277, a difference of $506,824, or 68% over the engineer's estimate. For this one, there was a couple different things. One was the phasing of the work itself to keep the traffic flowing through the project, and the second was the cost of the traffic, the equipment as well as the traffic control, like I said, for the phasing. So with this review, it was determined that the bid is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Combs Construction Company.
Mr. Elders, your district?
Indeed, and I will happily make a motion to award 9H to Combs Construction.
All right, and a second by
Second.
Ms. Daniels, thank you. Any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item 9H passes unanimously.
Next item is item 9I. This project's a little bit different. We actually used a different bidding process for this project. We used a fixed price variable scope. For this project, this is a rebid project that we had done. So we had 1 bidder that came in on this project. The differences that we saw in the costs were basically mobilization and survey and layout costs were quite a bit more, as well as traffic control. But after review of the bid, it is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Hawk Contracting, LLC.
Mr. Barnes, this is a rebid. What bids did we have in the first time out, remember?
Actually, these prices came in lower than what we were talking about. Now,
Well-
it is variable, a variable price, a variable scope. So as the project's going through, if we can basically add to it, we will. If not, then it stays. We have those prices pre-established, basically, so that we can kind of work that scope as we go.
But at the previous, didn't we look at the same contract or the same project earlier or not?
Yeah, we actually rejected the bids.
Correct.
On this one before. Yes.
Okay. And so we're making recommendation to award this time. Here again, Mr. Elters, your
I will-
district.
I will gladly make that motion.
All right.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Elters, second by Ms. Daniels. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item number 9I passes unanimously.
So next item is 9J. This is intersection improvements for the city of Apache Junction. For this project, we had 4 bidders. The low bid was $5,234,622. State's estimate was $4,586,030. A difference of $648,592, or 14.1% over the engineer's estimate. For this one, what we're looking at is the cost of the structural concrete for some of this work was about 30% higher than what we had estimated. Also, the haul distance for some of the manual work is much more than what we had anticipated. But we did, after analysis, review, this bid is a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Blue Core Contracting, Inc.
Mr. Rogers, this is a city project and they don't have a problem with the increase?
They do not.
Okay, very good.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. A second?
Second.
Ms. Pesikai, thank you. I have a motion and a second. No questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 9J passes unanimously.
So the next item we have is this is a pedestrian bridge at the city of Maricopa. For this project, we only had 1 bidder. The low bid was $8,136,745. State's estimate was $4,498,776. Difference of $3,637,969, or 80.9% over the engineer's estimate. This project's a little bit different. This is a pedestrian bridge over the railroad. It also has elevators on either side, but there was an issue with this bid. The one single bidder that we had on this, after review through BECO, the DBE goal was not met, and so consequently we are rejecting this bid.
It says
All right.
postpone.
Pardon?
The recommendation.
Yeah, Greg, the recommendation that was submitted to us said to postpone.
It's postponing, sorry. Well,
Correct.
we're going to have to rebid this because we only had this single, so that's what we're looking
And
at.
is there not enough space for an incline, and we're requiring an elevator? I only ask because I just did one, well, I didn't just do one of these, this was several years ago in Gilbert, where I really wish the railroad would allow us to do an at-grade crossing, because it does make sense from a pedestrian standpoint, and it coexists very nicely all over the East Coast. However, our railroads are not quite as amenable to that type of solution, so.
So in this particular case, the elevators were incorporated in. We have steps going up to, basically
ramp.
there's not enough room. So
There's not
we
enough room
have
for a
steps, but not enough room for an incline to make ADA.
Right.
Okay, and is Mayor Smith take off? Is she still here?
She's out.
She left, okay. Actually, this is, all right. So,
Why don't we just reject it then? Why are we postponing it? If we need to rebid the whole thing?
I'm only going by what was submitted to us.
I'm
happy to make the motion however you prefer, but.
Right. So at the time this was put together, BECO was still doing the analysis to make sure that
Now we have it.
that determination was made, and so therefore this will have to be rebid.
Okay, so I will move that we reject the item 9K, reject the bid.
And I'll
Is-
second that.
all right, so we have a motion to reject opposed to postpone. Motion by Ms. Daniels and a second by Mr. Elters. Any other questions or comments? All right. All those in favor of rejecting the bid, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. And item 9K, to reject the bid by Archer Western Construction, is approved unanimously.
And that is the last of the projects.
All right, I'm glad we made it through that, Mr. Myers.
Thank you very much.
Relatively quickly, well done.
Item number 10, SR 88 Apache Trail Project Overview. And this is being presented by?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, if you'll indulge me in a quick introduction.
Okay.
We wanted to bring this project to you. It might not be a traditional public-private partnership, but it definitely is a public-private partnership. You'll see through the presentation that our maintenance crews did part of the work, and Nesbitt Construction did part of the work, and just a great teamwork, an incredible project, and we just thought you would be interested in seeing what has happened on this road.
And you know, since this has been in our radar for a number of years, and we've heard quite a few comments, it's great to be able to see something like this. So, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and member of the Transportation Board. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. We do have a brief presentation for you. Also speaking with me today is Mr. George Colasso from our Southeast District Maintenance, and Mr. Aaron Luchesi from Nesbitt Contracting. Let's see if I can get this. Oh, yeah, it works. Okay. These are the agenda items we'll be discussing for you today. So I'd just like to give a brief overview of the events that happened prior to closing of the SR 88 from June 8th to July 15th. So for almost 1 month, Woodbury Fire burned almost 120,000 acres of Tano National Forest. And just 2 months later, on September 23rd, Hurricane Lorraine hit landfall in Baja California. Sorry, I couldn't get that out right. And that basically brought some adverse weather into Arizona and the surrounding states, and essentially brought 6 inches of rain on the burn scar from the Woodbury fire. And, the ensuing flash floods brought down ash and debris and sediment into the canyon. This triggered, of course, massive erosions and rock slides and landslides. And those events essentially forced the closure of State Route 88. So in January 2024, so earlier this year, Alternative Deliveries and Major Projects was tasked with reopening the roadway to 4x4s and utility terrain vehicles. We essentially had around 8 months to complete the project and open it to traffic, so basically by Labor Day weekend of 2024. And we had $4 million to complete the project. Our limits to the project is from Fish Creek Overlook, or milepost 222, to Rio Vista Trailhead, which is around milepost 229.6. And this section is the majority of the limits that ADOT District Maintenance worked on. Also, Fish Creek Hill from Fish Creek Overlook to Fish Creek Bridge, we identified that section for Nesbitt because essentially it's a very narrow, winding, one-lane roadway, which was very difficult to work in. So the limits of our project essentially has been closed without any maintenance since 2019. So on the right side of the slide there shows the largest blockage of Fish Creek Hill, which is that rock slide that blocked the roadway, rendering it essentially impassable at that point. And on the left side, the same rock slide also took out a large chunk of the roadway and essentially began to erode through time, leaving only about 6 feet wide of the roadway. The roadway also experienced some eroded roadway edges, and as you can see there is the guardrail that's really there to delineate the edge of the roadway, and now is just hanging off the edge, or there's really no land underneath it to hold it up. So there's a lot of course, debris and sediment on the roadway, and flash floods developed some heavy drillings throughout the surface of the road. So there's about, I would say, about 67 or 65 plus culverts that were all clogged and damaged at this point, and then all of the inlets were buried with rock and sediment. And through the years of no maintenance, the vegetation had pretty much overgrown the roadway. So our approach to the project was, we call it a two-pronged approach. To optimize our funding, essentially we leveraged ADOT district maintenance to do a large majority of the work. While they were working, we were able to procure our design consultant and start a selection process for a CMAR contractor. We also were able to initiate our environmental consultation with Tono National Forest and SHPO. So basically what district did is they worked from both ends of the project, and they did a lot of grading, removing vegetation to improve access for when Nesbitt comes on and to the construction site. They were also able to establish water source from the lakes and access to the stockpiles for fill materials. The CMAR section, we were able to engage Stanley Consulting and Ethos and Logan Simpson, who had just recently finished the DCR for the corridor. Ethos was able to go out to the field immediately to start identifying and prioritizing all the repairs that needed to be done to the road so we can reopen it. And Logan Simpson worked with ADOT Environmental Group to start working with Tono National Forest and SHPO for the NEPA approvals. In the meanwhile, all of that was happening. We were also going through the selection process for the contractor. So the pre-construction had its challenges. One, we had to get 2 environmental clearances. One for the Southeast District to do their maintenance, and the other for Nesbitt. So SR 88 is on the National Register as a scenic byway, and it's also on the State Register as a historic roadway. So in order for us to get our environmental clearance, we had to meet all of the requirements from both the federal and state. So basically, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when did that process start?
In January.
Okay.
Are you talking about, well, the whole process started in January, or are you talking about the environmental clearance?
Yeah, the environmental permits, that started in January as well?
We tried to get that started as soon as possible. I would say, yeah, we did pretty much in January, but they worked very hard with us. And in fact, what normally would take months, and they literally turned it around in days. So, I mean, it was a group effort for everybody. You know, coordinating all of these multiple departments was crucial for this project because, you know, everything had to align just right for it to be successful. And in fact, just days before this project was to be presented to you for approval on a Friday, we received our environmental clearance the Wednesday night late. And then Thursday, CNS worked with Nesbitt to get all the contracts, you know, submitted and ready to go, so that all that needed to be done on Friday after approval was to sign the paper. Because up to this point, there was only 4 weeks left for Nesbit to do all the construction, so we needed to have the contract signed so they can mobilize it on Saturday and Sunday so they can start construction on Monday. So it was just one thing after another, and it all had to happen. And basically, like I mentioned earlier, everyone really rallied together to get this work done. Tano worked with us, SHPO worked with us, all the different departments really prioritized the project to get it done. And so, and otherwise, I don't think it would have been able to accomplish our goal. Next is Mr. George Kalasa, who will be talking to you about Southeast Districts. This one.
So good morning, George Colosso, I'm the superintendent for Southeast District.
George, could you please go right up to the microphone?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Welcome to the board, Transportation Board.
Chairman.
I'm sure, I don't think you get here very often.
No, sir, I just on the receiving end of it and I maintain it what you guys approve. So our challenge, when this was put together, we had to talk about our hurdles and challenges that we dealt with and stuff, right? So to kind of take us back to 2019, when Tropical Storm Lorena came through, it actually wiped out an entire section back from 214 all the way to 242. There was 47 miles that was destroyed along State Route 88. And it was done in sections, and Nesbit was lucky enough to be part of that first one. When we went through, if you look at every little purple dot on there, that is 57 cultural or historical areas that we had to contend with. That we had to deal with monitors, we had to be careful not to destroy the head walls, any things like that. So while we were out doing this, to go back to these, when we went through 3 different maps that we had set up for this route, and none of our alignment points came together to tell us where any of these culverts were. So we were literally on top of dirt just trying to figure out between 3 maps where things were. So that was a super challenge in itself. A lot of things that we had issues going through is we had the traveling public, or walking public, sorry, that was constantly walking through or out there trying to do construction. A lot of this SRP was in the middle of doing tower upgrades while we're out there doing that, so we had to be careful while they were flying towers over our heads. We had to stop work, doing things like that. Trying to unearth and find the 57 pipes and all that, we had to do everything by hand. We had no temporary construction permits or easements, and because the head walls were all historic and that, we had to pothole them, find them out, and then we had to dig them out by hand. So there was a lot of hand labor put in by our units. The brush, when we first started it, we couldn't get off the area because we had no idea if we had cultural rich sediment come across the road. So we had to stick to our roadway prism, and we had to hand cut and hand carry everything out. We couldn't drag brush, we couldn't do anything. Hand cut it, load it in the truck, stay on our path, go out, chip it.
Was this considered a primitive area by Tonto?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So between that, and then we had 12 sites that actually required monitoring, that we had to actually wait for the monitors to be there while we worked. So any digging out of culverts, road grading, removing the material, they had to be there the whole time, look through everything we did. It really slowed down the process for us. We had replaced 3 culvert pipes that were completely crushed and collapsed in the roadway. Manpower and equipment issues was very difficult because, like I said, we couldn't get off of the roadway prism, so we had to use small machinery. Of course, all of my unit's peers are like, hey, why do you guys use little tiny tractors instead of, big bulldozer and going, and they don't understand this stuff. And of course, we had to reshape the road, regrade everything, we had to reinforce the banks. And the biggest challenge, another big challenge, was hydrovacing out all those culvert pipes. We were not allowed to have any sediment or water whatsoever enter the waterway stream. So we ended up renting hydrovac units, things like that, to sit there and, as we were jetting out the systems, we had 2 hydrovac units sitting there sucking up all the sediment and water and stuff. So just some pictures of what was kind of going on and the equipment that we had to use because it was such a tight area. The material there is on the left of what we dug out of the culvert pipes. Those were the guys hand digging and potholing trying to find right there. The picture actually on the right, we have these kind of backwards. was one of the culvert pipes that we finally unearthed and got to that point, and then once we finally got it open, that was the material that came out of those. And that was through all of those sites throughout the entire area. And then came construction for the hill. This one, to the right.
All right, good morning. Thanks for letting us come here and present, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of this project. Before I get started, I want to go through and give these guys a little bit more credit than they're giving themselves. We got credit for pushing the rock, or breaking the rocks down and getting it cleared and opening it up, but the amount of work that George and Myrna and their team did up front, getting everything set aside, was unreal. We sat through meetings for 2 or 3 months ahead of time. Some weeks there'd be 3 or 4 meetings, in a week, and the amount of stuff that got talked about and got done, just getting us to that point. Legitimately, there's a few times I'm like, that's never going to happen, it's just going to come together, but did end up being a great project. So I'm going to talk about the project. That we had the 1.5 mile section of Fish Creek Hill from the contractor standpoint and what we did. You can see on there, our scope was very, very straightforward: remove boulders, restore the damaged areas, repair the culverts, and then regrade the roadway. Up front, very, very straightforward, very easy to do in concept, and then we start getting into the constraints of how we got to do it and the logistics. So starting out, the first constraint that we had that caught us by surprise when we got close to it was no explosives. Started looking at it originally, we thought piece of cake, huge boulders, we'll drill into them, we'll blast them, no problem. Started looking environmental, and they said, no way, you can't do that. So had to regroup quick. We'll talk about how we ended up doing that in a little bit. Next thing was no impact to historic elements. As George said, there's a lot of head walls, guardrails, culverts, and foundations spread out throughout that road. Some of them you could see, they're very apparent. We knew they were there. Other ones we had to call George's guys out multiple times because we'd say, hey, there's something here. We have no idea where it is. It's buried in the bushes. Come help us out. We ended up using, as you see in the picture, the orange delineators to barricade off what we knew was there so the operators could see it and not hit and damage anything. And the next thing is maintain the natural historic appearance. As we did the upgrades, as we got everything back to how it was supposed to be, we couldn't improve the aspect of it. We couldn't make anything look like it was a new construction. It had to look like it had always been there the way it had been for the last 50, 60 years. So that was an important element we had to keep in mind as we were doing everything. Next one is we couldn't import any material. We couldn't bring anything in or bring anything out of the project except for slurry. So we were able to bring slurry in to actually stabilize it, but everything else had to be reused on site. I'll get into some of that. Talked about the slurry, the remote location, long ways away from any commercial sites, so we couldn't actually batch slurry and bring it out in ready mix trucks. We had to dry batch it, bring it out to the job site, add the cement, add the water there on the job site. Definitely thinking outside the box, getting ADOT on board, talking through what needed to happen to get them comfortable with our process, doing trial batches and everything was real important, but got through all that and ended up batching the slurry on site. And then next thing is schedule. Obviously on this project it was huge. Myrna kind of talked on how quick everything was coming together at the last minute, as far as getting contracts on Wednesday, getting approval on Friday, and then we mowed on a Monday, which was July 22nd, and we had to have the project completely done, 100% ready to open up to traffic on September 16th, which we ended up getting everything done. And then
Who was responsible for the schedule? I mean, who required
the
these
initial
dates?
dates.
Oh,
It's kind of a joint. Originally we talked schedules, what we thought we could do, where we thought we'd be, just kind of given the scope that we knew about. And then we promised it to Friends of the Trail. Is that their name? We promised it to Friends of the Trail that it would be open by a certain day. We talked with them. We were actually originally shooting for Labor Day, and they were afraid there would be so much traffic on Labor Day that we pushed it back by 1 more week just so we had a good, safe opening and it wasn't too congested.
So the schedule was self-imposed?
Yes.
Okay.
Collectively, yes.
Yes, all right, thank you.
But once we advertised it,
Right.
we made sure we had to hit it 100%. Next thing is reducing wildlife impacts. In that area, a lot of tourist surveys, a lot of bird surveys we're continuously doing throughout construction to make sure we're always staying ahead of it. And then a few other wildlife things I'll get into in a few minutes. And then minimal plans. Given the area, the scope that we knew we had, we couldn't really go through and get hard plans to build the entire thing because we knew to be changing constantly. So came up with quick, easy plans, stuck to that, and then made a lot of field changes as we were going. Next thing was a little bit difficult was logistics. If you've driven this road, it's very windy. Mobilization, getting everything in was very difficult. We ended up setting up a formal convoy, about 3 or 4 transport trucks in a row. We had to have officers for I think it's 15 or 20 miles ahead of time, doing rolling closures, shutting everything down. Our transport drivers literally used every inch of that road when they're going through some of those turns, getting everything through. So cars have to stop, wait for a stall to go through. The last cop would let them back through after we're done. All the loads we brought through there, we only had one driver that refused to come back and do any other ones. He said one was enough and he was done. So the project, 1.5 miles long. The boulders in the center, you could literally throw a rock from one side of it to the other. But given the way that it was all set, if we didn't do our mobilization and we didn't plan everything correctly, it was a 3-hour detour to go from one side of that rock fall to the other side. You have to go back into town, up through Globe and back by Roosevelt, or the other way going to Tonto Basin. So really important that we pre-planned everything out and made sure we had everything separate and duplicate. So with that, we had to have 2 sets of everything on the project, 2 sets of equipment on each side of the job, 2 sets of fire equipment on both sides. We were working in the middle of summer, a lot of fire restrictions, the hottest times. We made sure that we had something ready to go all the time. Like I said, 2 of them on both sides so we could attack anything from each direction. The picture on the right was one of our mechanics' idea. We were trying to think through how to get something down to the job site because we couldn't get water trucks down to the actual boulder spot. So they came up with the idea of putting everything on skids so the loader could move it, using water tanks and then water pumps if we needed it. We use that for dust control as well because this project, kind of in the middle of nowhere, we were surprised, but it is Maricopa County, so we did still have dust inspections and everything out there.
So looking at all the boulders on the road, and I saw you couldn't bring any material in and you couldn't take any material out. I'm assuming the Forest Service allowed you to leave those boulders or the material there. You didn't have to.
So in the next couple slides, I'll show you, we had to load everything into loaders, take it down to a staging area, rescreen it, and then anything that the bigger boulders, we restacked up and used those to basically build the wall of where the slurry was going. And then the fines we brought back up and then graded the roadway out to make it smooth. So narrow work area on this one, as you can see, the excavator that we had to break up the boulders was legitimately the biggest one that we could find that would fit in the prism of the roadway to get down to it. And then the loaders are big. The only way we could get personnel in and out of the job site was by side-by-sides. We'd have to coordinate with the operators, have them pull off the side of the road. We'd bring our 4 or 5 side-by-sides down for all the weekly meetings and whenever we were working. Basically stop production, we do our inspections, and they could go back to working again. But no room to pass, no room to get any actual vehicles through there. As I said, we could use explosives, so we got the biggest excavators we could with hydraulic hammers. We sat on there and just broke them down, got them into manageable size boulders, loaded those inside the loaders, and then every single rock, every single ounce of material had to go from the boulder spot down to the staging yard. Next slide, I think, has the screen that we actually screened it and then put back into a loader and then brought back up. So every rock had to be moved roughly 1 mile to 1.5 miles to be screened. They're screened material, so the bigger stuff we restacked up and made basically a retaining wall to hold the slurry, and then the fines we brought back up and then regraded it out and used the blade to smooth it off again. And one of the last things was the unexpected visitors. The road's been shut down for 5 years. These animals have retaken over the road completely. They hadn't seen any vehicles, hadn't seen anything, so worked real close with our guys, reminded them that this is still their road, this is their area. If they saw anything, then they had to stop production. So bighorn sheep were the biggest ones that came and visited. They would constantly be right up above our guys. We'd shut down for a little bit of time, let them pass, do their thing. But I'd say that was a couple of times a week we'd see bighorn sheep. A few times they saw javelina, and then the main thing we talked about each week was who's seen Dakota Monday, who's actually seen it, are there any out here? Literally the last week of the project, the water truck driver ended up seeing one and got that picture. So it was just neat how they take it over, but then end up working through it. With that, thanks again, I appreciate it, and turn over to questions.
It's very impressive, and Director Toth, I want to congratulate you on this. This is as a board, Board Member Daniels and I have been hearing about this for day one since we've been on the board. And I think if we could have seen some of these pictures and seen some of these challenges at the time, it would have helped us deal with the public a whole lot better. But anyhow, very impressive. Questions for the comments on the presentation?
I don't have questions specifically, but just wanted to echo the sentiments of congratulations on a really incredible project. Even the interagency coordination sounds just a little bit overwhelming, so I can't even imagine the construction side. And I just want to compliment too. I think this probably fell under for your maintenance crew. That these is the other assignments as like outside of your normal job description.
Yeah, normal job description, our normal job duties kind of went by the wayside. We're a little behind now, but we're catching up.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of hiking out of Rivas Trail a bunch of times and done some overnights back in that section of the Superstitions, and it really is an incredible area of our state. So thank you for making it available to the public. And I know Supervisor Surdy, who I think was probably one of the leaders of the Friends of the Trail and other groups, very much appreciates the efforts that were made. And I know he's been out there several times because he'll send me pictures and notes and letting me know he's out there enjoying that part of our state. So thank you.
Any other comments?
I can't help but say something. Amazing, impressive. It really is. I think the pictures go a long way in communicating the difficulty that you have to deal with, all of you. And I think it just demonstrates that good things happen when people work together. Creative, smart, dedicated, and caring people. Because this took all of these characteristics to happen. And I know there were only 3 of them in this room, many others out there, including Tano and others. It's an incredible project. Thank you for the presentation because it really helps us relate to how it was done and what you went through. So very impressive. Thank you.
Are there any plans to submit this project for some national awards? Okay, good. I was like, I think this deserves some sort of plaque or
Recognition.
certificate or something. Really, really incredible.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Pestigar?
Yeah, I just want to say I echo everybody, the members' words. I think it's really incredible, and I want to thank everybody for observing historic sites and sacred sites and the historic preservation, working with SHPO, and yeah, it's really impressive. I'm gonna take my kids on that drive. So I've never been there, but just like I've never been to Wickenburg, I guess I need to start traveling some. So thank you. It's really beautiful.
Pack a lot of snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still takes a while. It's worth it.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Like I say, I think it would have been really great to see some of those challenges 4 years ago. So, all right. Item 10, that was item 10. Item 11, suggestions. It's 11:28. I'm going to go past this right quick and just let you know that our next meeting.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
If I may, really quick.
Okay.
I'm just historically, I'm used to seeing federal highway representatives at these board meetings, and I know there are both of them here today. Arizona Administrator Carla Betty and her deputy Anthony, and I just want to acknowledge their presence, let them know how much I value and appreciate them being here. I know they work really well with the department, and COVID, I think, pulled everybody apart for a while, but it's nice to see them in the room, and I very much appreciate your presence.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Elters, for bringing that out. Yes, thank you for being here. So, before we adjourn, our next meeting will be in Sierra Vista. I know it's a long ways for you, Mr. Elters, but we look forward to you joining us. And Ms. Peschikai, I don't know if you've been to Sierra Vista, but another wonderful area of the state.
I'm not going to say anything.
All right. You know, Director Toth, if you could get the airplane out, that'd be great. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.